Alright, this is going to be the continuation of our transmission video. At the end of that one, you notice when I went to put that transmission together for final assembly, I noticed there was a shim behind this spider gear here that's shifted, probably worn. This is the ring gear I want to use because it matches the pinion gear on the output shaft. So we're going to fix this, and I have a parts differential here. It seems to be in good shape as far as that shim goes, or bushing, and as far as the spider gears goes, so if I need to use any of those, I'm fine. So to disassemble this differential, there's a pin that sits here. It's pushed in to hold this pin in place, and there's a hole in the back where we're supposed to drive it out. Don't know how well it shows up there, but that hole is peened over, so I'm going to drill that out a little bit and knock it through. Looks like about a 1/4 inch pin. That's probably a common size for it, so I'm going to hit that with a drill and see what happens. Okay, 1/4 inch did the trick, so we should be able to drive that pin out now. So to drive it out, I need to punch for this side. Alright, it also won't hurt to have this little block of wood there to hold it up. Alright, see that pin's just starting to come up. Since it's just starting to come up, I ran out of room with this punch. Bottomed out. Let's see if this one will be any different. Might get a little bit more with that one. Not much more. No more with that one. Alright, now that we're past the rough part, and it seems to be moving pretty easy, I'll get a smaller punch that's a little less diameter. So I don't have a punch long enough, but I do have a nail. Your pin. Now we should be able to, probably be easier this way, drive this pin out either direction. A little bit of wear there, for sure. Not bad, but enough. Alright. Now we would rotate this whole gear set to walk out these gears on the end. And once you do that, everything else falls out. So this one was from the top, and the one in question's on the bottom. Now let's take a look at the one on the bottom first. Yeah, that's supposed to be a round hole. That one's definitely shot. Nothing, doesn't look like anything's wrong with the gear, but this has walked its way over. Somehow, it's shifted. So that needs to be replaced. Yeah, here's the example of a good one. And that's what it should look like. The gears themselves are fine. So on the back of these, there's also a bushing or shim, and they both look like they're in great shape. So it looks like just this shim's the culprit, and possibly this shaft. Not bad enough to worry about, really. There's not much slack there. So actually, I'm going to pick whichever one's best, but even if this is the best one, that's not a problem. It's not bad. Let me go ahead and take apart this other one, see what we got. Keep track of all these parts so the sets stay together. I'll do the whole process with this one in just one shot. I may speed it up a little if it gets boring. Okay, that one, there's a little bit of wear on it. It's a little better than this one. Also, it's worn on one side. You can't feel it on the other because this drives a certain direction. I'll make sure I install it where the good side is, on the side that receives the most pressure. Okay, so we'll spin this whole assembly, and then those spiders should fall out. Yeah, they don't look any different to me. Okay, this gear popped out. Let's see what the shim looks like. Yeah, so we got a good one for sure. Tell you what, the back of this gear's a tad smoother. I think I'll go with this set. Get this bottom one up. Take a look. Same way. Gear itself's in great shape. And this shim or bushing here seems to be in good shape too. Guess it's more like a thrust washer. There's a little bit of wear on these though. They are a little thinner. Something I can feel. There's a little bit of a lip there. You can kind of see it in the camera. It's on both sides because this is worn thin. It's a little recess here where it wears down into. It's not bad though. These spider gears can have a little slack in them. They're not a big deal in this case. It's not highway use. I'll put this thing back together. I'll look in the book, see if there's a spec for backlash on the spider gears, and we'll measure that and see if it's in spec. There's no way to adjust it on this. Well, I guess technically I can add shims, but I don't have the proper amount. It looks to me like there's only supposed to be one here. These wouldn't quite wear properly if that's the case, if we triple them up or double them up. But yeah, anything is going to be better than this one. This one is definitely toast. This was off the parts tractor, by the way. This spider gear set differential I'm taking apart now is off of mine. Yeah, so it's been several months since I did that automatic transmission video. At this point, I haven't shot a video in probably 3 months, maybe 4. I did upload a video since then though that I shot a while back. I guess the engine was the last one, I think. Heck, I don't know. Anyway, let me get all this stuff cleaned up and then we'll reassemble it. Alright, everything's all cleaned up. Take a look at a couple parts here. The way I'm going to decide which bushings I use. I'll take thickness and pick the two thickest. Actually, on there's... Okay, this one feels heavier than the rest. And I imagine maybe these come in different thicknesses. I could look at a parts manual and see. Just, actually, yeah, parts manual's not up here, it's down at the house, so I won't bother with it right now. But this one has no lip worn into it like the others. Let's see. But there is a defined edge there on that one. So this one doesn't really seem like it has much wear. Zeroed out. That's about 25 thousandths. Okay. This one's with a lip. Well, not much of a lip on this one really, but it's about 24, 23. If I check at the center section, we're at about 28, 29. So maybe this was 30 originally. This one's got a pretty big lip on it. It's 14 thousandths. But if I check in the center, it's at 30 thousandths. So these are probably originally 30 thousandths shims, as both of them seem to be. So this one is obviously 13. That one's gone. 24. We're going to go with 23, 24. Let's see. We're going to go with that one too. And as long as we still have some backlash, we're fine. If we need to go thinner, we'll use that one. One thing that's going to be real important here is the direction I install these. Like this one, for instance, has a little bit of lip on it. The lip is actually going to ride inside of this groove, so the side with the lip will face the gear. And that's the plan. As far as the gears, they all look great. A couple oil passage holes where oil can get to the pin. They're clear. On these, there's 3 oil passage holes that come out the other side. For the bushings there, they're clear. Alright, these are curved, so I just can measure the edge of these. I don't think they're worn though. 21. 24. 26. 27, 28. So these are the two with less wear. We'll start with those. And we'll go thinner if we need to, if we don't have a proper backlash. I'm probably just going to eyeball the backlash on this. We'll see how it goes. Use my micrometer. Alright, and here, the bearing surfaces are perfect. There's nothing wrong. They are smooth, no rust, and shiny. So they should be good to go. A little bit of grease. A little grease inside the hole where this rides. Alright. Okay, for right now I'm going to go ahead and place these in place. Use grease to hold them in place in the housing. See if that works out for me. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Put this top one in, I'm going to need to slide these gears in to hold it. Well, I guess I could turn it on its side. That would make a whole lot more sense, wouldn't it? Might even actually stay there. Try to get it where you could at least camera sees in there what's going on. It's a little more awkward me working on it in this direction, but okay. So we'll put a gear on both sides. See if we can rotate this into place without moving our bushings. Okay. All right. Okay. This differential sits in the tractor. That's the front. I'm on the back side here. And the direction of rotation is actually reversed. It rotates this way because the final drive changed the direction for forward. So because it rotates, the top of this rotates towards me, the way this pin was installed previously, there's one side that's worn a little more than the other. Actually, I can barely feel anything wrong with that side, but I feel a groove. Normally it was like this, where this would rotate next to me. So I'm going to rotate this 180 degrees, so most of our pressure is going to be on the fresh material. And it's still not bad either way in this case, but for this use, especially it being a tractor, for one, and one that'll hardly be driven, shouldn't be a big deal. That was wrong. That way. Okay, so they don't line up. So what's that tell me? It tells me that I didn't clock my gears quite right. Okay. Now it should work. Okay. Before I drive that pin, make sure everything turns free. It does. It's a little sticky because of the grease. backlash actually feels pretty normal. Yeah, I'm not even going to bother measuring this. I can't adjust it without making new bushings anyway, but it feels good, and it used all the thickest shims I had, so we'll go with this. It's definitely better than it is with the shim hanging out. So I get this to line up with my punch here. See if this works as easy as it should. So it made it past the pin. Oops, I missed. Let's see. Sorry, my hand's blocking it here. Okay, we're past it. And I'll go ahead and pin this over again. Alright, it's definitely not coming out. Our differential's built. Now it's ready to go in. A little grease in here to make sure we don't corrode or anything. Just a thin coat. Right. Okay, now for the install. I got a few things I gotta get ready before I do that, so we'll see. We might come back to this tonight, or I might finish up next weekend. Couple things I did. Got shims cleaned up, and there's a couple extras here. Unfortunately, I lost track of which side was right and left, and where it was to begin with, so we're going to be starting from scratch, which isn't a big deal. I'll just put it half and half to start with. First thing we do is we'll add or remove shims till we get the end plate gone and the bearings, so we get a little bit of preload, and then we'll move shims from right to left to offset this ring gear till we get the right backlash. A little bit of paint overspray in the race there. It scared me for a second. It felt rough. Some brake cleaner will get that out. Yeah, now smooth as could be. Okay. So, a couple things we need to do. We need to put output shaft seals. They actually mount on the inside of these bearing carriers. These carriers go on the end of the differential. So, we will need to install these. The axle seals are national part number 471766. And there is a slight difference between this seal and the input shaft. The input shaft of the transmission, if I remember correctly, is a tad smaller. And most of the tractor stores, if you order seals, they say all three is the same. But these shafts, axle shafts that go in here are 1.25 inches. And the input shaft, I think, was a little smaller, or maybe it was a little bigger. I forget which. It did take a different seal. I measured the shafts and went to the National Seal site and ordered the seals that way. This is the air side, this is the oil side, so these will need to be tapped in like this. I want to make sure my surface in there is clean. because this red paint on here is the sealant that's going to seal it. If the surface was a little rough, I would put some RTV there, but I think we're fine with this. Doesn't seem too bad. So let me find a tool we could use to put this in. Alright, got a race installer, and I'll just use it to tap that seal in. Alright, proceed it all the way around. There we go. Now, the original seal was actually driven all the way into this bore and more flush up against this edge. See that little bit of a gap there? There was a little bit of wear on the shaft where the seal rode. I'm purposely having this one ride a little bit further inward so it can seal against a fresh surface on the shaft. And it's fully seated as far as the seal goes, right? Because we're making full contact all the way around. So it should be fine. Okay, so as far as these go right and left, I know what's what because I marked them. Inside of here there's an R stamped. Took a punch and stamped R and L on a lot of these parts. So I know this is going to be the right side, which means this is going to be on this side. Not going to put a lot of grease in here yet. Just I will at final assembly, but I got to shim it. But I don't want the bearings running dry. I will add a little bit here just to help it turn smooth. Alright, well, this is how it sits in the transmission. These two bearing plates are actually bearing carriers. Will hold this in place. So now I just need to get the transmission mounted up where I can install this. Alright, turns out I didn't have to actually mount this to anything anyway. My engine stand right now is holding the torque tube, but put a couple pieces of wood down at the bottom here and have the studs on them. The shafts do not touch the ground, and I'll be able to drop the differential right in the top. And I'll probably use that hoist right there to do it so I can control it easy. Okay, this will work out pretty good. Okay, I got this set up here. Differential's on a hoist. I'm going to try to clear the camera with it. I'll probably bump it a couple times. Okay, I'm going to try to go down at an angle, then twist it. Maybe that's how it's supposed to go. Not how I took it out, but hey, we're doing something. Okay. So we put it in at an angle. Alright, we're roughly there. Once I moved, my hoist rolled. Guess I was holding it. Which shims I'm going to use? That's the trick. I'm going to do 3 on either side and go from there. So we'll start with this left side. I have a bolt in here just holding all the shims aligned for now until I can get this in. Tell you what, made a mistake here. I didn't clean these bolts off yet. So these bolts actually have sealant on the threads. You can see it real good on this one. I need to hit these in the wire wheel real quick and clean them up. We'll put thread sealant on these when we bolt them together for the final assembly, so gear oil doesn't leak through the threads. Let me go clean these up. I'll be right back. Okay, got threads nice and cleaned up, so it should thread in good now. All the bolts, all the threads on the transmission I've chased and cleaned up already, so that's not a big deal. Alright, now's the right side. Alright, rotates easy enough. Got way too much. We got a lot of in play there. And we should have the opposite of that. We should have preload. And since we still have a little bit of backlash while I'm pressing it in, I'm going to go ahead and take some shims off of this side. Just take one. There's a few different thicknesses on here. I'll take one of the thicker ones off. See if that works. Alright. Still move freely. I don't feel any in play. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and put all the bolts in. Make sure it still feels the same. Yeah, it feels like we have a good preload there. Alright. Now we need to measure backlash. And then we'll check our gear pattern. So I'm looking up specs here. and divide shims between left and right carriers to provide a 5 thousandths to 14 thousandths backlash between teeth of the pinion. So I'll shoot for the middle of that. I'll do 5 to 10, and we'll see. So we need to measure how much backlash we have. Holding the pinion, moving the differential. And the angle I'm at isn't ideal. It's not 100% accurate, but if I shoot for the middle, I'm going to be good. But we got about 25 thousandths. Oh, hold on, let me get a. All right, right there's one end. Yeah, 27 or so. So what I need to do, remove a shim from this right side and add it to this left side to push the gear over to mesh deeper into the pinion. This voice makes it nice. Hold your differential right in place, not battling the weight of that thing. Still got some backlash there. All right, let's measure it this time. I'm going to fix this and be more accurate. Be right back. Okay, found a different way. Had a piece of 90-degree bracket I mounted here to mount to it. So this is straighter. Only downside is now it's harder for me to get my arm in there and hold the pinion. But I'll try without bumping anything. Oh, great. Doesn't work when I move it. We just increased backlash. We're at 40. So we got to go way in. Alright, so I'm a dummy. Just dawned on me what I was doing. I moved the shim to this side to push it that way. That doesn't work that way. When I take the shim off of there, I move it over the wrong way. So that's why an increase, and that makes sense. Yeah, so that increased us by 15 thousandths. So theoretically, if we go back the other way, we remove that shim and another one and put back there, it'll put us around 10, if my measurement before was accurate. So yeah, I messed up. For some reason in my mind, I think I was picturing it where I was putting the shim between the bearing and the differential, pushing it that way. Increasing shim thickness would do that in that case, but this is not what's going on here. Alright, so I need to remove 2 from this side. two off, and those felt like they were all about the same thickness. Feel like I'm out of practice working on this thing. Haven't done it, messed with it in so long. Even dawned on me on the spider gears. They were thrust washers, and I'm calling them bushings. I don't know. Not with it today, but okay. Still have backlash, and it feels like a lot less than before, so this might work out. Hoist out of the way. Drug the camera with that one. Okay. So spec here, 5 thousandths to 14 thousandths, I believe. Let's see what we're at. Try to get here close to 0 at 11. Yeah, right about 11 thousandths. So technically that's in spec. Too tight would cause some whine. I definitely don't want that, so we'll look at the gear pattern. I think I'll go with that. Isn't like it's going to see highway speed. If I have it too tight, I know it's going to make noise. And the shims, moving them, seem to move them about 15 thousandths because it was at 40. And now I'm down to 10 by moving 2 shims. So that should be 15 each. So if I move another shim and move it over 15, I'm going to be way too tight. So that's not going to work out. That definitely won't get me down to 5 from 10. So we're going to go with 10. 10 is good. Let's see, I want to keep this wire in there for right now though, because I'm going to have to hold the differential up while I seal these plates. So we're going to paint these teeth with some grease and see what they look like. See how it meshes. Paint a few teeth here. Some white grease. I want to go to the same direction it normally rides, which is backwards. I'm going to hold tension on this gear as I run it past. Okay, I see it on this side. It looks pretty good. If you look on this back side here, we'll look at it closer in a second. Let me go ahead and run it the other way to get the other side. All right. Upside down. Okay, there's what we got. Pretty even contact pattern all the way across. on both sides, even both directions. I think we are good to go with this one. Now what we're going to do, spray these shims and seal them up. Well, I'll tell you what, my old faithful can, copper gasket, almost done. Had it since 2011 probably. So this side has one shim. I know I have enough left for it. The other side has multiple shims. I don't think I have enough spray. So I'll do this side on camera, and we'll call it done for the video after that. The other side I'll do later after I pick up a can. This hoist is a lifesaver. It's just really lightweight. Being electric is nice. If you watch the tractor teardown video, you'll see me use it moving big parts around there. It's not good enough to lift up the engine, but everything else it can lift. Okay. First thing I'll do, I'll paint both sides of this on this handy cardboard box that happened to be laying close. Come on, hope I have enough for both sides of this one. So now I will mingle the box a little bit so it doesn't sit flat and only supports on the edges. Okay, there we go. The other thing we need to do, thread sealant. Ain't even showing up. Too bright. There we go. Permatex thread sealant. I've used this for years on water pump bolts and bolts that pass through to a water jacket on blocks. About yay much. If you don't do this, you'll definitely have gear lube seeping through on the lower bolts. Could be a semi-fast leak, could just be really slow leak and accumulate over time. I couldn't find any signs that this has been apart. This part has been apart on my tractor and the parts tractor, but when I took them apart, they both had sealant on them, so I'm going to say it's like that from factory. Okay, I do want to add a little bit more grease for this bearing for initial run. And I'll put grease on that seal before I put the final drives in later on, because I can get to that from the outside. I don't care if a little gets out. This is all concealed inside of the final drive anyway. That's why these aren't painted or stainless. So I am still not going to remove this cable yet, this wire yet, because I'm going to hang it when I do the other side later on. But I'll save that for another time. We'll throw a little bit of oil in this ring gear though. Help keep things from corroding up since I washed it. Try to get just a little coating on stuff. We'll see. We'll see how well that goes. If it drains on the transmission, I don't care. It's going to be going there anyway. Yeah, this is a mess. This is not working out like I planned. Oh well, good enough. I don't want to get it all over the outside. Alright, we got first gear, second gear, third gear, reverse. First gear's nice and low. Third gear's pretty good. First gear's not quite low enough though. On the B it seems kind of fast. But with a 3-speed you don't have many options, so it is what it is. Alright. Now it's ready for the PTO assembly, but we're not going to put that on until we start assembling the tractor. A little bit of update of some things that's been going on behind the scenes. A couple weekends ago, Dad stopped by. We assembled the last final drive, except for the brakes. I forgot to sandblast those parts and paint them, so I just got to do the brackets. But the brakes are there other than the brackets and pins. At the PTO assembly sitting there waiting. Engine's waiting. The wishbone, I machined this lower half so it's flat again. Let's try to get it there. It did have a taper to it, but now it's flattened out. Let's see what else we got. Oh, this will be a coming video here. Putting the clutch assembly, or putting the clutch parts in this thing. We got our torque tube cleaned up, painted on the inside. I still got to paint it. Once I paint it, I'll do a video assembling all the clutch linkage. That should be any time now. Another thing here, replacing this, which is all rotted out. Let me get the other one here. Got a piece of steel to replace it with. And I was practicing drilling those holes into the corner. I set it up on the mill in some V-blocks and actually just milled the holes there. So, that was a test. I'll drill the rest of them later. Get it painted. Let's see. My shop's a mess here. Let me walk around a bunch of stuff. Dad also brought these frame assemblies in the other day. All ready to go. All the wheels and tires are ready to go. Over here we got part of the hitch, our snap coupler, and there's all kinds of bits and pieces laying everywhere. There's a seat underneath that box. So we got plenty to do. But before I put big assemblies together, all I have left is I need to machine the spindles and get them to where they fit properly, because somebody decided to weld a shoulder on them. On the other wishbone. The other wishbone assembly, they machined the whole bottom off of it, welded a shoulder in place to have a bearing, thrust bearing on it. But I want to machine off that weld and use their spindles because mine are damaged. Actually, let me go grab that. It's over in the sandblaster. Just got sandblaster cleaned up today and started messing with it. There you go. So this shoulder right here is welded on. They built it up with weld and machined it down. You could tell they built up part of that. I'm going to clean that up a little. Because I machined some off of that other, I'm going to put a washer on here and weld it in place as a new thrust surface. But I got to get rid of that. But other than that, this is great. There's only minor wear here. So my lathe isn't big enough, so I got to borrow a friend's lathe to chuck that in and machine it, or I would have already done it. And I think that's about it. There'll be more eventually. Stay tuned.